Hello everyone, my name is Nathan, I'm an Eternus 7 player, and today I wanted to give a bit of an update on my build that I use. It's this one, Natan's me ZapzapPewpew, you can find it here, and this is a Surge Max build, and I wanted to talk about the recent changes that I've made. In this video I'm not going to go into detail about all the items in this build, because I already have a video like that on my channel, so make sure to check that one out. So we used to max our Surge, then Stun, then Ball, and then Ult. But now what I've been doing is maxing Surge, then Stun, and then Ult, instead of Ball. So the reason I do this is because late game, it means you have a tier 3 ult, which is actually pretty useful for patron fights, for example. Whether you're defending or attacking a patron, or maybe a mid-boss fight, or just in general a late game team fight where there's actually a lot of people that you can hit with the ult. So now what that means is with this build, you'll get your power surge maxed out at 8k souls, and this is your most reliable and strongest source of damage for early fights, which are usually like maybe a 1v1 or a 2v2, right? You're not really fighting 4 people 10 minutes into the game. So this is, in my opinion, definitely the best ability to max first. Then I like to max my static charge to get it maxed out at 16k souls, which is roughly maybe 14 minutes into the game, right? And with superior cooldown, you'll imbue that on your power surge, of course. And that gives you a very reliable source of CC that is targeted, but also AoE, right? So you will often just hit multiple people with it. And you'll stun them for almost 2 seconds. And you have this up every 18 seconds, so that's multiple times in a team fight. And I think that is still more impactful than what your Stormcloud could do. So then for the first roughly 25 minutes of the game, you've been running around killing people with this very reliable surge build, right? And then at 30k souls, you'll unlock the tier 3 ult, which is very nice to close out games with, but it's also really nice to defend your own patron, of course. 30k souls might sound like a lot, but if you're farming at 1200 souls per minute, which is pretty reasonable or standard for 7, that's at 25 minutes into the game. So yes, some games you won't even get to this point, but that doesn't matter because you're already a functional hero, right? Getting to this tier 3 ult is just a bonus, an extra late game power spike. So while this ability is pretty good, there's a few issues I have with it that make it so that I don't think it's good to focus on this ability, to max it first and to build for it. What I'm looking for in my build is always the most consistent and reliable way to have the most impact possible. So the thing with this ability is that it's only really good if you're hitting 3 or more people. Those people and you are in an open area where they can't really get to cover quickly. And those people cannot cancel your ult. So they are not Lash, they are not Viper, they are not Holiday, they are not Dynamo, they are not Wraith. And I'm probably missing a few. Or they don't have knockdown. And then you might say, well, just buy Unstoppable. But that is still a 6k item, which is a lot of souls, which means you're probably walking around for a few minutes with a bunch of unsecured souls. You're not really doing anything in that time. So in general, you don't really want to rely on tier 4 items to make a build work. I think it's funny because Dynamo players right now are also kind of realizing that maybe building and playing for their ultimate ability on a 200-second cooldown, that only really has a high impact if you actually hit like 2 or 3 people with it, right? That maybe building for that is not as good as just building for their Stomp, for example.
The reverb's actually one-shotting, I'm telling you, bro. Like, building around the ult is not the play on this character. You're building around a 200-second cooldown ability. It just doesn't make sense.
And I think 7 players should kind of realize the same thing, where building and playing for this very long cooldown is maybe not that reliable and maybe not that great. It's still a decent ability, don't get me wrong, but these two abilities require far less of a setup and commitment to use, right? If you mess up your Stormcloud and you don't have any of your other abilities maxed, well, now you're just useless. You're just useless for 2 minutes. But then you might say, well, Nathan, in my games, at 12 minutes, the entire lobby is fighting in blue lane. And in that case, maybe Stormcloud is more impactful. But then you need to also hope that they don't have anything to cancel it. And I'd argue, if you're in lobbies like that, you're so much better off just playing Surge 7 and split pushing. Because people don't punish split pushing nearly as well. With this build, you can 1v1 anyone, really, that tries to stop you. And if they send multiple people, well, then your team is going to win the fight, right? Because they have a numbers advantage. Now, of course, if you're just playing for fun, then yeah, of course, go for it. Have your fun. I'm not here to try and stop anyone from having fun. This video is, of course, more for people who really want to play 7 to the best of their ability and the best of 7's ability, right? So at roughly 21k, you finished the core of this build, and that means you're now a very functional character with just these 2 abilities, really. You're just running around killing people with Surge and Stun. Your Surge is up almost all the time. And then what do I like to build to make the Stormcloud good at 30k? You might pick up a Spirit Life Seal, but this isn't mandatory, but it does make it a lot better. Healing Booster is great if they have healing reduction, which they should, but I know that in a lot of lower ranked lobbies, people don't really buy healing reduction, so this item is definitely optional. Suppressor is great, because it reduces people's fire rate when they're in your ult. You definitely also want to pick up a Spirit Armor. And you might say Unstoppable is mandatory, but trust me, this item is not mandatory for Ultimate 7. It really isn't. The reason being is that you are already a functional hero without the ultimate. Ethereal Shift is so much better. This is just a free panic button every 24 seconds. So if you're ulting and that Lash solo ults you to cancel it, that's great because you just E-shift it. Now he doesn't have ult and you're still just as good of a hero. The ult is just a bonus. However, if they have like a Holiday, a Viper, a Lash, and a knockdown or something, then yeah, Unstoppable is great, of course, because it just guarantees 6 seconds of ultimate uptime. And if they waste a bunch of abilities on you while you're unstoppable, that's of course amazing. But yeah, trust me, it's not required to build this item. Alright, that was the video. Thank you so much for watching. Good luck in your games, and I'll see you guys next time. Love you. Bye-bye.